Good evening and welcome to the Author's Outpost, episode 15. And tonight I'm just going to point out that I am 1/3 of all the hosts, all of them put together. Captain P.F. Dennis here.
I am one aspect of the host, Casmodian.
And tonight we have a special guest. He is on Star Trek Online, Midnight TLC, a.k.a. STO Admiral Aaron is here with us.
Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I've been looking forward to coming on.
Great. It's great having you. And let's see. Kind of a interesting week for Stowe. Cast will be telling you about that after I roll the little news intro.
News credits.
Oh, I love doing it.
All right, well, I say probably the most spectacular bit of news is we've got the very quiet and silent acknowledgement that Thursday is season 10.5, which was buried at the bottom of a lockbox credit, which, well, so we get a Year of Hell lockbox, which has all sorts of goodies in it.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Lots of extra bonus stuff, like super bonus stuff.
Yeah, they changed it up. They pulled a lot of the lower ranking stuff. Like, I'm assuming that they mean like the 10,000 fleet credit bonus and the other little niggling things, which, to be perfectly honest, I always hated getting because the bonuses don't really do anything for me. I'm not looking for the bonuses.
Right.
So
I like the R&D boxes. I'd rather have those. They're getting rid of those.
Unfortunately, the R&D boxes are the thing they took out.
Hmm.
And instead, they added in. Let's see if they had any numbers right there. I don't remember. I don't see numbers quickly, but yeah, they took out the smaller boosts, the R&D boxes, and they put in extra large boosts. They put in a different type of weapon pack, which, if I remember right, I know it definitely let you choose either beam or cannon.
Yes, but they're not having ground weapons this time.
They're not having ground weapons. The one thing I wasn't sure of is if they let you choose the energy type. I
didn't read that.
Yeah, it doesn't explicitly say, so I'm going to assume it's anti-proton weapons or chronoton-based weapons until we decide differently, but we can at least choose whether or not it's a beam or a cannon.
Yeah, we get a cruiser and a battleship this time?
Yeah, we get there's going to be the Kremen ship, which I believe is the tier 6 one. There are two, and then there's another one. There's the one that's easier to get usually, like the Malon cruiser was in the last one. And that's going to be, what was that? I don't know if this is, no, that's not the one. Yeah, the big daddy is the Imperium warship, which is the one that you saw appear in varying sizes depending on how much he'd screwed with the timeline. Right. To beat on Voyager. Yeah, not the time ship, though. Not the time ship.
I would have thought that would be the prize, but they're probably just saving.
I guess that's probably because we're building it.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that. There's the Zal heavy cruiser, which is one of the ships you saw at the end of Year of Hell, fighting against the time ship with Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the Hydron destroyer, which is the tier 5 ones in the lockbox, I believe those were also there at the end of the episode too.
Yeah, I think the one that I was thinking of began with a Z, I think, and I can't remember.
Yeah,
it off the top.
that's the Zoll heavy cruiser. It's the one with the big pontoon nacelles, and
Okay.
that's the other. That one's the Lobie Store one. The Niagara
Right.
is the what's taking the place of the
Yeah.
mirror ships.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting mixed up. The low-buy ship.
Yep. And then you've got some of the traits from some of the ships they're going to have in there. So the big thing, people that Klingons and Romulans can get reciprocity for their ships, which apparently is a thing of much desire among players.
And they didn't mention any costumes, but we usually get something, like in the low-buy store. You never know.
There weren't any listings for costumes, no, but we'll see. I think that might also be because the fleet holding, which we'll be getting, has the new Kremen one through, and it's going to have various ranks, I know that much. So we'll see. It's going to have some duty officers, and if you remember back when they did the temporal lockbox, they had little temporal beacons that would unlock missions that you could run.
Yes.
And you get specific DOFs.
Yep.
They're doing something like that again, but it seems like it might actually even be more complex, because this one's going to award titles if you run all of them, and dilithium, and you get a larger amount of skill points in dilithium from just running the missions. But if you do all of them, you get a title and 10,000 dilithium, and if you crit all of them, you get an additional title and 50,000 dilithium.
Nice.
But all of this is pointless and doesn't matter, because the most important thing that we get out of this are beagles.
Beagles. And possibly a broken foundry.
Well, we usually don't get that from half seasons. So,
Yeah, let's hope.
but
We have too much going on there.
since you mentioned Foundry, there is one thing that is in the pipeline right now. Zero did announce that they have managed to track down and fix a bug that existed for the items in the map placement.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now,
That's very
there is
good news.
There's a caveat on there, of course.
Mm-hmm.
They have to manually go through every object and fix them. And there's over 9,000 objects in the Foundry. Now, on a plus side, we now have an exact number of objects in this Foundry. It's something like 9,036, if I remember. But the downside is they have to go through and touch 9,000 objects. So it's not going to be a right-away fix, but I have seen visual evidence that they fixed it.
It'll take a little at a time.
We'll get there. But that wonderful little bit of news crossed paths the other day. In addition to the lockbox, we've got a key sale going on right now till the 20th, which will help you get those stuff out of the lockboxes. They announced towards the end of the day today that a Tier 6 Excelsior variant is coming up.
Yes.
And
I can't hit that. Let me get that for you.
Yeah,
and there it
looks
is.
Sexy, and yeah, I'm kind of wanting it. I don't know what I do with it, because what am I flying right now anyways? Oh, I'm in an Andromeda. It can't possibly turn any worse than an Andromeda, but...
Oh. Tell you the truth, that does look like a big Avenger.
It
looks
honestly,
more like the Avenger than the Arbiter does.
It's like it's like an Excelsior started to morph into a Odyssey to me.
I can see that.
Like the bridge between them.
Right.
I like it. Now, if I do get it, I don't know how much I'm going to make it look like our original Excelsior, how much I'm going to make it look like the new skin. We'll see. But it's just one of those, which do I want to try for more? Do I want to spend it on keys, or do I want to spend it on a ship? But I've already got I've got 2 tier 6 ships that I haven't even gotten the trade on yet. So,
Well, I'll say it again. With all these new ships coming out, we need the limit lifted on how many we can own.
admittedly, that is a big problem for anybody who is a collector of ships, because it is very easy to run out of space.
And it's one thing for the ships that you can always reclaim. But since you cannot reclaim the lockbox ships...
Yeah, that's the big
know,
thing, is the lockbox ships and fleet ships you can't reclaim.
So I will not be discharging any of those.
Or, at the moment, you can't. Now, they have implemented how you're able to recover a ship that's like the anniversary ships. So it's possible, and they've said that they're working on a mechanic to allow you to do it. So,
Well,
we'll see.
if they want to sell these things, they should give us more room. Just logical.
Oh, and did I mention we've got a new episode that comes out this week too?
Oh, that's nice too.
So, they'll, with hope, knocking on wood, fix Time in a Bottle so that you can play it again.
Yes, I would like that very much.
And then at the same time, we will also get a new episode, which is titled Broken Circle. It's sort of, it looks like it's going to be The Empire Strikes Back, because times are hard, or put upon, and things are going badly. So we'll see how this ends. I have my suspicions.
Yeah, well, I haven't played Time in a Bottle yet, so I'm a little vague on where we are at this point.
Well, not as bad as the teaser for Broken Circle leads you to believe.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. That will launch with season 10.5, which is, as I said, going to be this Thursday, which means we will also get the new fleet holding, which means we're not fully built up on the fleet holdings anymore. Got to build up another fleet holding in order to get the bonuses. Now, I did see, and this is via Primar, there's a nifty new thing that they've added to the fleet holding, at least for the research one. Once you get it built up to tier 3, there are now going to be a weekly bonus mission that you can run on the fleet holding, which will give you bonuses to either like your dilithium payout, to your weapons and stuff, so that, like, and I only, mind you, I'm only remembering what I saw from like hours ago, but one of the things was like 20% damage boost, I think came from, here we go, I found it. Wonders of searching the internet while trying to, 20% damage to all weapons ground in space, plus 40 damage resistance rating, plus 10 speed and turn rate, plus 10 run speed and dodge. This is from the weekly project combat performance boost. Now there's also, like I said, there's a skill point one, and there's a dilithium ore boost. Now, all of these cost resources, like when you're putting them into the thing I just completely blanked on, help me here. Them things that you use to buy things in the stores.
Right. Dilithium?
Well,
Zen?
No. Well, it costs dilithium. It costs resources, XP. It has the standard cost is like the cost like you were gonna do, like you were gonna buy a kit or a console from the fleet. It has a cost like that, and I don't have those numbers right in front of me, so I don't know what it is, but basically you get to pay dilithium and make dilithium. I'm still wondering if there's a Ferengi in charge here and not a Kremen.
Yeah.
But
No, I think Ferengi have been in charge for a little while now.
But all in all, we may hate the lockbox thing, but I do kind of like the stuff that's in this lockbox this
Oh,
time.
I don't mind lockboxes so much. I mean, you don't have to buy them if you don't want to.
No, you
Nobody
can
forces
run
you.
entirely off of EC, pretty much.
Mhm.
But that is all the news I can think of at the moment, except for everything that I forgot.
All right then, we'll go to Admiral Aaron now, and his mission, which was called Adrift, which we played. I've got lots of video from it when I played it, but it was his first mission. Where is he? Is Admiral Aaron, you here?
Yes, I am.
Here he is. Good.
Yes.
Why don't you set up the plot for us a little bit so everybody knows?
Well,
going
Adrift
on?
is designed as the introduction to the character. It's kind of flings you around a little bit. I like the twist of it. You kind of think you're getting something when in reality it's something very different, the end of it. But what it does is it sets up like the main goal for the end. And you finally realize in the third one why it was so essential for you to start off this way. So it's kind of a unique little twist. Those people who played it understand when I say it's a unique little twist.
Yes, we don't
at
want
the
you to
end.
give anything away. No,
I don't want to give anything away for those who haven't played it, but definitely it's an interesting mission, and it's morphed into probably not what people expected when they first played it, and I will admit that I've gotten some negative feedback in regards to that. Right? Some people are like, "Oh, I absolutely hate the ending," and other people are like, "That was brilliant."
Yeah, well, you're going to get that.
You're gonna get that,
You can't
right?
please everybody. As Foundry authors, you learn to have a thick skin with that. 'Cause
Exactly.
Yeah, twists are something that people don't always take well to.
No, they don't, and especially the twist in this mission was definitely one of those ones that I was like, well, that's risky, but I think it's well worth the ending because it's meant as an introduction to one of my most evil creations. So
And
Yeah.
definitely go into it. It's definitely, I have senses of homageness.
Yes, I was going to say there's a feel to it from
Oh, yes.
like another franchise.
yeah,
That-
there's a little bit of twist in that, but again, it's its own unique creation with its own unique components and its own unique story. And as you get further along in it, the first one kind of seems that way, but as you develop the story, you go further along. You can actually tell how completely different I go with the entire story of the beings and everything that
Right.
you encounter.
Yes. No, I had a good time. It was a good mission. There's a nice balance to it. I have
Which
to
is
say.
impressive for him to say because he hates the Borg.
Well, the Borg are more of a distraction. Behind
Yeah,
who's
although-
really pulling the strings.
You know, it wasn't so, it wasn't so bad. They're not on you every 2 seconds. And, you know going in that you have to deal with them.
Yeah, and I was like, as an author, I used to do Foundry reviews on a podcast called Decade. So I kind of knew what I was looking at. So that's why I think for a first creation, even though it's now in its 7th generation, as I call it, because I've made 7 major changes to it over the course of time since it was first published, it's standing on its own 2 feet, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a great deal. I didn't leave a review. I just gave a star rating because I knew we were going to talk about it. You know.
No worries.
Yeah. Yeah, and maps were good. I like the first map, the debris field with the the ships and it's nicely done. And it's your first, which I know there's 7 generations of it now, but it was your first mission.
Yeah, and you know what? I had a lot of support. Brandon, the community forum manager.
Oh, yes.
Me and him were kind of close.
Mhm.
We know each other through Twitter and Facebook and all that independent stuff. And he played it when it first came out, and he gave me a list of 4 pages of things to fix. And I responded very quickly to those 4 pages to fix. And I just kind of crossed them off one by one by one by one. So, and then over the course of time, I've gotten feedback. I've listened to reviews, and I know I was pretty much, I think I was reviewed earlier on Starbase UGC, one of the podcasts, and they ripped me a new one.
Well, the old podcast UGC, yes, they could be hard.
Yeah, they
That's
ripped me a
for
new
sure.
one, and I actually, funny enough, if it wasn't for them, the EEH in engineering would not be there. Because I think they said, why not just go fully for it, right?
Right.
And I said to them, you know what, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think they meant it as a joke, but I was like, you know what, I like that idea, and I ran with it.
You know, I've never known them not to be fair, at least. That's for sure. You know, they could be hard, but they were fair. Yes, I've had a few missions reviewed on there. But, you know, I don't have any complaints. But yeah, as far as the Borg went, I found it not very, you know, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say scary, you know, because, you know, I'm not really, it's just a game. You're not really scared of them. But I didn't find it as daunting as maybe, you know, a lot of the Borg I've played game-wise. Are they actual Borg mobs, or did you skin something else?
On the ground maps, they are Borg mobs. Just recently, actually, the 7th iteration, I actually changed the ground mob. The ground mob before was, they all just kind of came at you once, 5 groups of them.
Right.
And I kind of went with that for a while, and it always was something I was like, well, you know, one of these days I'll get around to actually fixing that into separate combats, right? Because some people, they're like, yeah, that's awesome, they loved it because everything just came at you at once, and other people, they're like, it was too much at once. They're a bunch of HP sponges, and I was like, well, so I updated a lot of the ground combat, I would say, in the last month, and that has a lot to do with the way they are now. They're more staggered.
But I thought there was a cube, too, that didn't seem as difficult as, I don't know, maybe my ship is just more powerful than I thought.
Yeah, I did think that the Borg Diamond, actually, was the one that died the easiest. I
really wish I could make that one tougher, but I can't. I don't know what it is. It's just, it goes down so easy, and I know what you mean, and it kind of irritates me, but at the same time...
Oh, I'm not complaining.
No, it's just, it's just kind of like that. It goes down that quick. I've watched it, I've played it, because I always throw my missions through major testing, and then I test it every time a new season is launched. I test it anytime there's a major update. I always test. I'm always testing everything, right? Just to make sure if there's anything I need to know about, right? And the Borg, the Queen just goes down way too easy. I'm just like, I really wish I could figure out how to make that not... I've tried dreadnoughts. I've tried everything on her. You know what the funny thing is? I think the spheres are a little tougher to beat. I
thought the spheres were the hardest of the Borg space enemies.
Well,
I have to agree there.
That's like me. I always thought that for the Romulans, that I would rather go up against a Dideritics than a Mogai, because I hate fighting.
Yeah, Mogais have always been tough. I remember my first run through the game. When I was first playing the game, I hated going up against Mogais. It's like the worst possible thing. Like, not again.
Yeah, Dideritics, okay, fine. They tractor and torpedo spam you.
The Cardassian Keldon were bad, too. I remember hating those, too.
Yeah, because they did their photonic thing, and it's like, ooh, yay.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start this chain of tomfoolery?
Well, that's a unique question, and what it was I've always said the character Aaron has gone through several iterations of development along his way, and prior to the Foundry, Realistically, and I've said this once or twice before in a couple podcasts, where Aaron started off with might surprise you. I used to manage a fleet in game. I used to be a guild leader for a fleet called Wayland Yutani Fleet. And I was handed down to me. We were a medium-sized fleet, and when the second fleet holding system was released, I wanted to kind of find a way to kind of bring our fleet together on a communication channel that, everybody could easily access. So hey, if we're running a raid, we're doing this right now. I can easily push this communication out, and anybody who's following me on Twitter can, hey, this fleet is doing this, that, right? And that's how Aaron started. He was done as a communication tool for the fleet. He was never a role player at the beginning. He never was anything like that. The Second Life kind of saw him morph into a role player, and then I got involved with the podcast, so he was kind of involved with slightly role playing with podcasting, and I wanted to kind of tell the story behind Aaron, because a lot of my followers, they come in mid time, or they're coming in now and they have no idea who I am or what the character's gone through his past. So I wanted to create kind of a story for the people to understand who he is, where he's coming from, and his backstory a little bit. So I started developing the Foundry missions. And boy, that was an interesting challenge. I tell everybody, I said it's such a rewarding tool. It is so daunting when you first get started. And when I first got started in the Foundry, I think I looked at it and I went, yeah, no. I played around with 2 weeks and it drove me insane.
Yeah. Because
I didn't understand anything. It was too complicated for me. I went to school for history, so I'm not really computer savvy. So this was the first RPG online game that I've ever played. I don't even really play video games.
Yeah, me neither.
Surprised most people. This is the only game I play.
Me too.
So I had no idea what I was doing when I was developing Adrift. And I actually walked away from it. I actually said, you know what, I'm shutting the door, I ain't doing this. This isn't going to work. And then I got upset that I had that kind of attitude. So I said, well, let me just put something out on Twitter and see what people say. So I showed one of the maps I was working on. It was very basic. And some people were like, oh, that's really kind of cool. And I guess it re-energized me to kind of learn as most as possible. And I know everybody says this, but it's so true. And I tell everybody who asks me questions how to do things in the Foundry, how did I learn the Foundry? Honestly, Kirkfat's video,
yep.
gold mined.
Yep. That's how I learned too. I mean, this is going way back to the beginning when it was only on Tribble.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, my first mission was published on Tribble. The first mission that came over to Holodeck, I recreated from Tribble. So going back that far is when Kirkfat had these tutorials out there. So he was doing it from day one, and because that's how I learned. Just watch those tutorials over and over until I got it.
Oh, I think I watched them endlessly during the first. I think people thought I was insane because I just kept them looping, and I was like, okay, gotta understand this. I gotta understand this. Okay. Oh, okay, so that's how you do it, and that's about 40% of how I learned the Foundry. Was through that. Other was I asked people I knew who were Foundry authors questions along the way. I had I don't know if you guys have heard of Urs Rux. He did Operation Demon Storm. He's done a couple other missions as well. He actually helped me with Adrift. I had questions. He would go on TeamSpeak with me. I would be like, okay, I don't understand this, and he would be like, okay, well this is right. I'm like, okay, I understand it. So he helped me out a lot. I've also, a lot of it is trial and error, as I say. Just go in, pluck up a map, and throw every object you want to look at on the map, and then go stare at the map. Mm-hmm. And then go play around with it. A lot of that, when I'm building and developing, I actually have a test map where I just throw what I want to put on, and then I go on the map and I stare at it. I'm like, okay, so how can I repurpose this asset for something I want?
And sometimes that is a very good thing to do, because there are so many things you could just, oh, that wasn't meant to be that. Like those colony lampposts, they could be railings.
Yeah, I was going to say that about the little glass shelves too. Little glass shelves as railings. Yeah.
Or if I do this, this, and this with that foundation block, all of a sudden I have a completely different shape.
Oh, and now that we have the ground assets like the space stations in various states of construction, can use those as all kind of buildings on the ground.
Shot on buildings. You can sort of recreate San Francisco.
You can create anything out of anything in the Foundry. Like right now, I'm repurposing assets.
Mostly anything.
Yeah, well, you can repurpose. I do a lot of repurposing assets. Right now, I'm doing that because my new thing is I'm building a club for my next mission, a little section in the Starbase kind of club, and I've never kind of done that. But I think I'm reusing warp casings for Cardassians for some cool lighting effect. It's like,
hey, if it works.
Got the ESD ones too, so you have the lights from Club 47 to throw in there too.
But it doesn't work. My space is too small for them. And actually, some of the lighting, the one that goes around the fountain area as you kind of come around the circle up into the club on her space dock, none of that works. It's actually bugged, which sucks because I wanted to use it.
I think I heard. Actually, it may have been you I saw tweeting about it.
No,
I saw
think
somebody
it was...
just the other day mention that Club 47 lighting was acting a little flaky.
Oh, I can't take credit for that. It wasn't me.
It might have been Primar then. He breaks things all the time. So
Breaks things all the time.
So, Aaron, what would you consider to be your main inspiration? Like, what show is your favorite?
Star Trek. I would not be here if it wasn't Star Trek.
I mean, which one in particular of the shows? Like, anybody who plays my missions knows DS9 is where I get everything from. So.
You know what? When I was making Adrift, I was watching Voyager. Dead serious. I was rewatching Voyager when I was making Adrift. My favorite one is Voyager. I've always been a huge Captain Janeway fan. She's always been my inspiration. Somebody I kind of looked up for. I love the series. It was just primarily stuck out to me, but I've liked them all, right? For TNG's my second favorite. Deep Space Nine is my third. Enterprise took some twisting of my arm, but after season 2, I jumped in. I say after season 2, it's really good.
Yeah, that's the general consensus. Is that sliding into season 4, it really got good, and then
it got canceled.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I know.
No, I don't have anything against Voyager. I mean, a lot of people don't care for it, but I always liked it.
Voyager always suffered from inconsistent writing of characters. That was its biggest problem, in my opinion. Janeway would be tough one week, and then would be the next week, and inconsistent.
Some of the storylines were good, though.
And then
there were some very good episodes. Yeah, that doesn't bother me too much. She's in the Delta Quadrant. It was more like, you're lucky you're acting Starfleet at all out there, when it's going to take you 70 years to get home. Just like
Prime Directive does not apply here.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's and that's what we got this week as an episode. We watched an episode called Life Signs this week, which we'll get to. But matter of fact, are we ready? I think we can do that now.
Well, there is one more question.
Oh, go right ahead.
So I noticed that even as of this morning, you have a contest going on.
Oh, yes.
Would you like to talk about that?
Yes, I do. I'm known for kind of bringing some contests and some outside thinking towards the Foundry, and that's always been kind of the way I've operated, was because I was a nobody, to be honest with you, and I was like, well, nobody's going to play my mission unless I make a stamp for myself upon the community, right? So I've always been big into the social media. So this contest is more about giving back. For me, it's a way to thank everybody who's played my missions, and obviously, they can play them again and enjoy them as part of the requirement of the contest, right? But it's an opportunity to win Zen. And from now until August the 2nd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm running a contest in which first prize would get $25 Zen, second prize would get $10 Zen, and third prize would get $5 Zen. Now, providing everything goes smoothly and I don't have to make any substitutions or changes, that's the contest payout. Now, I do have to mention that I am not providing two of the prizes. They are coming directly from Star Trek Online, and I have to thank them for providing those awesome gifts for my contest. It was truly unexpected and very warmly appreciated. So during the contest itself, all I'm asking you to do is play one of three of my missions. You don't even have to play it all the way to the end. You just have to play one or three of them, and I'm asking you to take a selfie screenshot during the part that you most enjoyed. So my three missions are Adrift. The follow-up to Adrift is called Variance, and the conclusion to the series is called Redacted 13. And you just take a screenshot and you submit it. There's a forum post in the Foundry section of the forums. There's also one on Reddit, and it's all over Twitter. I'm posting it every day to remind people. And you just kind of fill in some information, send it off to me, and then I pick the best screenshots, the top three, and I hand out the prizes and corresponding to that. And I wish everybody the best of luck. I think it's a contest that the Foundry community has never seen before, and I think I like to shake things up a little bit.
Okay, we're back. And that was Life Signs, Voyager Season 2, Episode 19. Well, a couple of things. In shortening that episode, I left out the B story completely. There was also in that episode a little subplot going on where Tom Paris is completely insubordinate. And at that point, we don't know why. But as Voyager goes on, we find out that it was set up so that they could find out who was leaking information to the Kazon. Anyway, thoughts, Cast?
Well, I guess it's probably the part where the Doctor actually gets to become a character. It's the turning point.
Yes, I do believe it is the first time he ever really expanded his program for any reason. I'll tell you, it's too bad that Kendra's not here tonight, because she really wanted to talk about this one, and she's feeling under the weather tonight, so she couldn't make it. But we went over and did the romantic thing, especially for her. But anyway, yeah, I think it's true. It's the first time that the Doctor really goes outside of the role as Doctor. I mean, you know that,
this program.
right? I mean, there are many episodes to come, but this definitely was the first to show that he could be more than just a program.
And of course, he learns how to dance.
Yes, well, that's this first expansion. He added to his subroutines with the dancing. There was also a point made, I suppose, about the way we treat, the ill, people who are sick. There's a lot of attitudes towards, there are people who just, avoid going to hospitals, avoid being around anybody who's ill. And that was definitely part of the message, along with the romance.
It is, and at the same time, it's also just whether I guess, a person's right to determine, too.
Sure. Yep.
Because
Yeah.
in an oblique way, the episode is about euthanasia,
Sure. Yeah.
without actually being about euthanasia.
Of course. And,
Which, when was season 2? I suddenly have one of those internet research bugs.
oh, yes, that's true, because it may have been...
Because I was wondering when the Dr. Kevorkian stuff was going
Right.
back in time. So,
Yeah, we could look that up real quick. Yeah, and then there was the other one. Why can't I remember her name now?
it's 95, 96.
Yeah. But I mean, being a doctor, he can't force a patient to undergo treatment if they don't want it. Although he did do his best to talk her out of it, I suppose, and succeeded. But, had she stuck to her guns, there's not much he could have done.
At least at this point, they hadn't bothered to try and cure it yet.
Although that didn't really matter when Tuvix was concerned, though. They forced him to have a procedure against his will.
Did I mention inconsistent writing?
Terrible.
Oh, and I also want to know where Kes gets off giving love advice. I mean, the only relationship she had up to that point was, with the hedgehog.
Yes, well, I don't take any sort of relationship advice from a 2-year-old.
Yeah, I knew that was going to get worked in somewhere.
But she's 2 years and a couple days.
Yes, well, then she comes back and tries to melt her brains, so...
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the terrible sixes?
Yeah. The thing is, she was so sweet in the beginning, and then, as she, she went through that self-discovery period, and then she became so superior to everybody. You wanted her to get off the ship. You were ready for 7 of 9. It's like, see you later. Although I love the way Jennifer Leanne speaks. I could listen to her voice all day.
Just have her reading your ebooks for you, right?
Yeah. She just has one of those voices.
Hey, there's an idea for Star Trek Online. Get her as the computer voice.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind that. Who knows where things are going now. I mean, I have a strong feeling that when these movies are finished, they'll be bringing it back to television. They'll be ready to.
Well, they have tentatively signed
A fourth?
For a 4th movie, so we'll see. We'll also see what they might announce next year, because being the 50th anniversary, they were going to potentially do anything.
And, we have yet to see what this 3rd movie is going to be like. It'll be the first one without a director who really favored Star Wars over Star Trek. And,
we don't speak of the Abrams.
Yeah, but see, that's one thing. I don't dislike the movies.
I don't either.
I see where people don't, it upsets them. But I think these movies are more like TOS than people give them credit for.
I think I've always said, and I've had discussions with my friends and things like that, and a lot of us agree. I think what people need to kind of remember is Star Trek was kind of a dead franchise. And when I mean a dead franchise, I mean it's just we hadn't seen anything in many years. I'm not saying the fans and everything like that was dead, because obviously it wasn't. Yeah.
No, they saturated television with it so much that people became tired of it.
And like Pax Federica said, I'm sorry to say this, because a lot of people are going to be super pissed off at me for saying this, but Abrams did save the franchise, in my humble opinion.
Well, I can tell you this for sure. I've been to 3
He
conventions.
injected it with Khan's blood.
I've been to 3 conventions in 5 years, and the amount of young fans he's brought in.
Yeah.
I mean, he deserves a tip of the hat just for that.
Yeah. My little sister went and watched the movie without me even saying a word to her, and she hated Star Trek prior. I think that says enough.
Yeah, well, they made it cool.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that. Matter of fact, the only problem I had with the last film is that I think they could have skipped Spock yelling Khan. If they just cut that one little thing out, I'd have been fine with it.
No. He had to push the envelope.
Yeah. Well, let's see what Simon Pegg can come up with for a script, and what. And who's directing now? Is it Justin Lin? Well, good. I'm glad.
I can't wait for the starships drifting around the planets.
Yeah. We're going to get some real RCS action out of this one.
The funny thing was, actually, if you guys know anything about my Foundry missions, I had decided to call my 4th mission Star Trek Beyond, right? As tribute, because it was beyond my capabilities and beyond the next, right? For Star Trek, right? Because it's the 50th anniversary.
Right.
And then they had to go and title the movie Beyond. And everybody's like, well, we know that you said that was the title for your mission many months in advance. And I was like, you know what? Because there's going to be people who don't understand, who don't follow me, who play my missions, I don't want them to turn around and say, oh, you're just trying to, hang on to the tales of Star Trek Beyond and draw in the players. No, let's just rename it. And I came up with Invictus instead as the backup name. So, yes. But I wanted to
Which is also a film, but not a Star Trek film.
It's also a film, yes. It's also a very powerful poem, and
yep.
And it also holds a special meaning for something in my mission. So
that's excellent.
It's a triple-edged sword.
Good.
But the episode, actually, I quite enjoyed this episode. I just rewatched it today while I was at work on my lunch break, and it kind of, I don't know, it made me feel kind of like a warm, heartful sensation about watching this episode. And you get the character, the Doctor. It's his first kind of avenue into change and moving forward into progression of his character from being the stubborn holographic Doctor, right?
Sure.
And it was kind of a nice tone to it, and you have a species that are so cruel because they're just kind of out to survive, and they're ripping organs out of people, and then to see a different side of them was nice, and reminded me of my series. So, and again, I don't want to really spoil anything for anybody out there, but a lot of people played it to the end and seen how I actually end the series compared to how I started it will understand why I have a sincere appreciation for this episode.
All right, well, that's good to know, because I'll finish it up.
I definitely give it a Star Trek feel. A lot of people do compliment my 3rd mission, which is the longest one. Mm-hmm. It definitely ends the way a Star Trek episode should end.
Good.
As long as there isn't coffee in that nebula.
There's always coffee. I live on coffee.
Me too.
I even drink iced coffee.
I'm drinking coffee right now. It's decaf. No, decaf. After like 5 p.m. I start the pots of decaf, but I'm usually drink coffee all day long.
So the question would be, would the Doctor have gone on to get his hollow emitter if not for this episode? Would he?
Well, I don't think that hollow emitter was basically forced upon him. When you think about it. I mean, he wasn't looking for it. It was right, but it was forced upon him by Henry Starling. He certainly wasn't looking for it. He was being tortured at first, if you remember.
I have to kind of agree with P.F. Dennis.
It's not something he was accidental.
Well, at the same time, Would he didn't have to keep it after,
No, that's true,
everything-
but I mean, it
after
was
the
freedom.
timeline
That
was
was
reset.
freedom for him. It took the chains off. Plus, the show needed it. They couldn't keep that character all, chained up in the sickbay constantly. It was too good a character. Think of the episodes that you couldn't have had if he
We
didn't.
couldn't have had Andy Dick.
Right. You couldn't have that hilarious episode where they met that species who, the mathematical species, who never heard music before. And
But he still would have been president of Earth, so.
Well, that's true. That was a little reference to
would he have?
our upcoming series, which we are currently working on now.
Yes, the one that I unfortunately had to bow out of.
Yes, that's too bad. We would have liked to have had you on board.
I would have loved to. It's just I have so much on my plate right now.
I gotcha.
I haven't even started writing Invictus yet. I have an idea and a concept, and I have a co-writer this time. And actually, funny thing was, I think a couple episodes, you guys were talking about doing things backwards in the Foundry. And I think you mentioned yourself that you build and then write, right?
Oh, well, I do it a couple of different ways, but most of the time I'm doing everything at once.
Yeah.
So I'll build the first map, I'll write all the dialogue for that first map before I go on to the second.
I have
It's
a
like-
nasty habit of building everything and then writing.
I have done that,
It's not a nasty habit.
but I don't generally, more typically, I'll write as I go.
Yeah, and for me, this one is different because this is the first time I'm taking my editor, and she's always been my co-writer. And this is the thing, a couple of people have asked me, like, oh, how's it going, with working with a co-writer? I said, well, she's actually always co-written. The thing is, she's always just been after the fact. I give her the Word document script of everything copy-pasted. She goes in and, like, I don't like this at all. And she scraps it and rewrites it. So a lot of the sentences, and this time actually in the third one, she wrote a good majority of it. She fixed a lot of my little errors here and there, and she really concreted. But this time we kind of looked at it and said, why don't we write this together? And I said, this is a new avenue for me. I'm not used to giving up that much control, I guess, of this. Before, it's always kind of sat on my lap, and this is, at the end of the day, I can say, no, I don't like what you wrote there. It's ultimately my decision for this. But this time it's
Right.
kind of like, well, we have to kind of find that common ground.
Yeah.
But I think I messed up, and I said, you can have the summer off. We won't work on this at all until fall when it starts getting cold, and we don't want to go anywhere or do anything. And then I was kind of like, unfortunately, I've gotten the itch for like the last month, and it's driving me insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny thing that, as far as, like I said, I'll write as I go, but for these series, both Purity and this one, they were both all written at one time. I mean, I can't write one episode. I can't write one mission, but I'll write all 6, for these series. I think that's because I'm not thinking of Foundry when I'm doing it. I'm just thinking of the story. It's different when you're in the editor.
Exactly, and a lot of the time there's so many different, I think for Invictus, like, I have an idea, but I've also had 10 other ideas. And a lot of people get confused because I think for a while there I was quoting Halo a lot because it was kind of like where I was going to develop the Starbase kind of in my head. And everyone's like, oh, it's going to be Halo Star Trek. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not going to be Halo Star Trek. I can 100% tell you it is not Halo Star Trek. I am not doing that crossover. As much as I think a lot of people are like, oh, yay. And I'm like, maybe that's future.
Yeah.
Any new
Instead,
authors
yeah,
out there? There's an idea.
Well, this series too will be a collaboration too, because, just because I wrote the thing out doesn't mean it's going to work perfectly the way it's written. So, as a matter of fact, Drogan and I went over the whole last episode because he's authoring the wrap-up again, as he did for Purity. He's doing the last mission, which is a key position to be in. But we're already, dissecting it a little bit and reworking it for the ending part.
And you always do, and that's the thing with Redacted 13. Like I've said to several people, the reason why I was 3 months later than expected, I actually wanted to launch January 1st of 2015. I wanted to start a new year with a new mission, out the door, there you go, conclusion, right? Kind of as a big prod to the new year. And then I got delayed because I had to change the story, because I ended up a little too close to Star Trek Online's story. And I got very nervous and paranoid that me and them were actually converging on top of each other. Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of rewrite the ending so it had its own unique twist away from what they had done.
Yeah, you don't want to step on those toes.
Oh, absolutely not.
You only do that with some things like Divide X and Imperia, but it never happens.
Yeah, you want to change the ones you didn't like. Yeah, everybody seems to have a problem with that one.
Well, it's easy to... It's the most aberrant of episodes.
It's controversial, for sure.
I think it's because the original plan got scrapped midway through its production, and it lost a bunch of stuff. Because, it basically leaves you as a mass murderer.
Right. It pushes you to places you didn't want to go.
As opposed to the mass murderer you usually are anyways, because of the number of people you kill.
Right.
I would love a statistic on that.
just the amount of the crews of these ships you destroy wantonly throughout the galaxy.
That there was one of the infographics that said how many times, but I'd have to actually go hunting for which year that was, and then we'd have to guesstimate, which sounds like math doesn't work. Two things that are abhorrent to a Foundry author.
Oh, yes. Math. Don't even get me started there. I don't even do math puzzles.
Well, the only math I use is the location command. When I want precise...
Yeah, that's the hardest math.
But I have the calculator nearby. If I ever have to do it, when I want precise objects placement.
A guesstimate. Is that terrible?
No, not if it works.
It somehow works. I don't understand. But I think of this latest one, because I'm building in the sky, I can't get this cup of blood wine to sit on this table that's not sitting level. It's like I can place it, but it places just above the table, or it sinks below the table.
Yeah.
It won't accept anywhere between.
Right. Yeah, I've run into that before, where no matter what you do, it won't make...
You get into those thousandths of degrees of movement.
Yeah, but even if you do, sometimes the object itself won't move. It just won't, almost like cross a boundary of the geometry. You know what I mean? It'll sit. It doesn't matter what number you put in there. It's not going to go. I've run into it before.
Yep. I had a shuttle that just wouldn't fly by the window. I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah, or you try to put a ship evenly or symmetrically inside one of those dry docks, and see how easy that is.
Nightmare.
Oh, well, yeah, I've done that. I eventually had to cheat and use triggers.
Well, cheating is also a part of Foundry.
Oh, absolutely. The amount of times I've cheated to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially with variants, there's a lot of special effects in variants, and even more in Redacted 13. And to get those special effects to do what I wanted, holy smokes, you don't want to even see the maps, as I tell people. You do not, because you won't make sense of them.
Mm. Yeah, I work with timers a lot, and there's a lot of cheating there. A lot of cheating. I've got some maps that have 5 or 6 different timers on them, and they all have to be done precisely, or they just won't work, or they won't work every time, or they'll just break. But luckily, I've had good luck with them. All right. Well, I think it's getting to be, what, 9:15? I think I'll read off the addresses, and we'll close it out for tonight.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and here we go. We have a website, and it is at www.theauthorsoutpost.com. You can contact us at mailbag@theauthorsoutpost.com. Our Twitter handle is at authorsoutpost, and we have an IRC chat channel that you can get to through irc.geekshed.net, and it's #AuthorSOutpost. And Aaron, any info for the people out there?
Yes, you can reach me. I'm on Twitter, so my Twitter handle is STO Admiral Aaron, all one word. Just search it, and you'll find me. You can pop it into Google search. You'll find me as well. I can be found in the Foundry, and my Foundry handle name is at Midnight TLC, all one word. Alternatively known as STO Admiral Aaron, and my 3 Foundry missions, I probably plugged them enough tonight, are Adrift, Variance, and Redacted 13.
All right. Well, thanks for being on with us tonight, Aaron. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All righty. Well, I'm going to say good night.
I'm going to say, yay, we made it to Pluto. As I've been watching also during the feed, and we have confirmation that New Horizon made it through the encounter, so we're going to have all sorts of Plutonian stuff.
Awesome.
And hopefully a
Yay,
new
science.
All right. All right. Good night now.